This week on the Most Innovative Companies podcast, I sat down with Andrew Yaffe, the newly appointed CEO of Dude Perfect. Dude Perfect started as a YouTube channel where 5 dudes place a friendly bet and record their competitions and trick shots. But it's now a global company with brand extensions including cruises and live shows. Andrew is tasked with turning the YouTube phenomenon into a global, family-friendly content company. So Andrew, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
You started your career at the NBA and you eventually led social, digital, and original content. Why would you leave that job?
Great question. I spent close to a decade at the NBA and was fortunate to have a number of roles there. And the NBA is an amazing organization. I was lucky to work there. But when the Dude Perfect opportunity came along, and I just started about a month ago, it really was, in some sense, once in a lifetime. It was going to take a lot for me to leave the NBA, but this is, I think, a really exciting and compelling opportunity to do something new and big and authentic. And so I'm just really excited to get started with the team.
So Dude Perfect raised somewhere between, this is what's been reported, you can give me a correct figure if you want.
I'll let you refer to the reports.
Somewhere between $100 and $300 million. Were you recruited to the role as part of that? Were you recruited afterwards? Like, tell me about the timeline there.
Yeah, so the investment closed about 6 months ago. A group called High Mount Capital is the lead investors who put a lot of money into the
It's
into the
four
company.
12-year-old kids.
Yeah. And they started on a search for a CEO. Took a little bit of time to come together, but I started talking to them over the summer, and toward the end of the summer, decided that this was the right fit, and have been working on it ever since.
Were you a Dude Perfect fan beforehand?
You know, it's funny. I was. We did some work together at the NBA, but I actually met the guys at a YouTube upfront where there were 3 speakers at the YouTube upfront: Dude Perfect, Venus Williams, and me. So I felt like the bathroom break in the middle a little bit, but I got to know the guys a little bit through that event and kept in touch with them, and was always really excited by their energy and their creativity and how they approach content. One of the amazing things about them is that they're the exact same people in front of the camera as they are in the office. They are incredibly...
You're like, guys, please pay attention.
Incredibly fun, incredibly creative, very hardworking. I got into the office on Monday at 9:15. I was the last person there, which was
But I feel like
exciting
in Texas,
as a CEO.
they start working weirdly early.
It is an early culture for sure.
Not for me.
But very hardworking and very authentic. It's an exciting group to be a part of. And
talk us through, Dude Perfect as it stands seems to have so many brand extensions. I mean, I'm thinking of like Nickelodeon content and ESPN doc, a big initiative to break a bunch of random world records.
Yeah.
Like what does the media company look like right now? And then we'll talk about how you want to.
Yeah. First and foremost, it starts with YouTube. The guys 15 years ago really prioritized YouTube, and I think have done an amazing job building, by all accounts, the largest sports channel on the platform. It's funny, at the NBA, the NBA has the largest YouTube following of any of the leagues at 20 million followers. And if you had told me I was going to leave somewhere and triple my YouTube following, I wouldn't have believed you. But we have 60 million followers on YouTube, and that's the core of our focus and the business is every other Saturday at 9 a.m. we post a new video that is, usually 30 minutes and takes several weeks to produce and has A-list talent. The brand extensions all come off of that YouTube presence. And I think that's how it's been for the last several years, whether it's the cruise, the Dude Perfect cruise that we ran, or the tours that we've done, the toys that we've launched, the books, the New York Times bestseller that we've had. All of those things I think grew out of YouTube. Going forward, I think we'll really begin to invest more deeply in some of the off-platform extensions. And that might be new content and new formats on other platforms as well. We recently launched our own connected TV app that is a really exciting element for us to more directly connect us to our fans and our audience. And we've started bringing in other top creators on that who we think match the sort of family-friendly vibe and ethos of our content. So Mark Rober, who's
he's awesome,
amazing, is now on our app as well. So, I think you'll continue to see more and more Dude Perfect initiatives and brand extensions elsewhere in the world.
But it seems like you're bullish on YouTube. It feels like some creators want to use something like YouTube as a stepping stone to maybe getting a network show. That, doesn't seem to be the strategy here.
I wouldn't say no, but I think YouTube is and will always be the heart of the company and a core focus for us. We have a great relationship with YouTube as a platform. It's the number one streaming platform in America. And it's interesting at the NBA, 80% of our YouTube consumption was outside the US. So while it's the biggest platform in America, it's also by far the most accessible and biggest platform outside the US. And I think that's a huge opportunity for us to continue to grow. So how do we continue to spread Dude Perfect globally? We're actually at the tour we're doing next summer will be our first world tour. So we're doing 20 stops in the US and 5 stops in Europe. But I think there's just a huge
There's a
world
lot of the
there.
world that you're missing out.
Yes, we are.
There.
We are not quite there. We only have five dudes right now to take on the road. And so, we'd love to get to the rest of the world at the right time. But I think it starts with our content and how we translate it, how we reach specific fan bases or countries or audiences.
You said in a Bloomberg interview that not to pull up your receipts, that, a lot of Dude Perfect content going forward may not even feature the dudes. Tell me about that.
Yeah. There's only a certain number of hours in their day. And as we grow as a scalable media company, that means that we might need other talent. It might mean new verticals for us. So there's some things that I think are very natural extensions of who Dude Perfect as a brand or as a company is. And that's, anything that through lines of it are family, fun, and sports. And anything that naturally fits that, I think makes sense for Dude Perfect. And so we're looking at a number of new verticals where our existing guys will likely be part of it, but there's likely going to be other talent as well who's part of those areas. And then I think you'll see categories where Dude Perfect stands behind a different business or opportunity, like our toy business or certain live experiences where it might not require talent to operate it. But the fact that I think Dude Perfect means something to millions of families across the country. Us putting our stamp on something and investing in something really means something to that audience and that community.
I'm always curious with family-friendly content creators. I mean, first of all, great sort of area to attract advertisers in. But Dude Perfect's been around for 15 years. How do you grow with that audience and also attract younger fans? Does that make sense?
One of the remarkable things about and one of the things that attracted me to Dude Perfect is they've done a remarkable job continuing to attract the new group of 8-year-olds every single year.
I guess trick shots are sort of
they're pretty universal and they're pretty entertaining. One of the amazing things I was talking to the guys about this last week, they now have kids who are fans of the brand, whose parents were originally fans of the brand 15 years ago. And, it's one of the things I've been asked a lot, like, well, what do you see as who are the brands that you follow? Who are the creators who've done this before?
Yeah.
And my answer is, there aren't a lot of creators who've been around for 15 years. So
Mr. Beast.
There aren't a lot of creators with 15 years of runway who've built that audience for this period of time.
Yeah.
So our approach to this is going to be a little bit different than others, but you don't have 15 years of success by accident, right?
Yeah.
And they've continually gotten new fans into their ecosystem. It's really amazing to see. Whenever I'm in public with the guys, it's quite a sight to behold, the audience and the affinity and the screaming that they attract. It's very fun.
What did you learn at the NBA that you're bringing to this? Like, what are some of the sort of skills is not the right word because it sounds like a job interview question, but what are some of the things you're hoping to bring to this organization?
Yeah, I mean, as much as fans love highlights and game action, they really want to be connected to the personalities and the quirks and nuances and funny, authentic moments off the court. And obviously, I'm now living that, right? that is what we produce and deliver is one, a direct connection to our talent. And that's something that we can have a lot of control over, and we can facilitate in a way that is a little bit more difficult in a professional sport. But two, we can also make it much more predictable and more planned than a live sporting event. It's very difficult to determine, and it's one of the great things about live sports is you don't know who's going to win. But at the end of the day, I know who we're going to be in every video, right? It will always be Dude Perfect. And so there's less of that uncertainty around which team is going to advance, which players, which storylines. Like we can control a lot of that and predict that going forward. And I think we've seen in the broader ecosystem and the success of YouTube that's what the audience wants. They want that personal connection. They want to see behind the scenes. They want real access.
Guys, it's me, Corey. It's not a mirror.
For a long time, people asked, well, are you using AI? Is it real?
Are the trick shots real?
And we've kind of taken people behind the curtain over the last several videos. We've started to share a lot more around our misses.
You have no idea how many times this doesn't work.
We just had actually a 30 for 30 on ESPN focused on the world's highest basketball shot, which we made.
I actually just watched that on social media.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It was crazy when it just kind of went sideways.
Yeah. Well, and it took a long, long time to make that shot. But I think it's kind of the values of work ethic and perseverance and authenticity are squarely what we want our fans to feel and see and know. And so I think that connection has only helped to realize like these are 5 guys. They're they're very athletic, but they're not the professional athletes.
They're not in the NBA.
But they make some crazy shots.
I'm curious, you were at the NBA for a long time. Is it 10 years?
Yeah, I started there in 2010.
Started there in 2010, which obviously Instagram was not a thing yet.
Not a thing yet, no.
I always joke, I have a frequent co-writer named Bert Helm, who's older than me, and he's like, I was an intern at Business Week in like the early 2000s, and he'd be like, guys, watch this YouTube video. And they were like, please go away. Were you that guy at the NBA?
I was very early on social media and sports social media, and the early days of Twitter and YouTube were right around when I started. And I've been curating all my social media following, not who follows me, but who I follow.
Are you on social media? I couldn't find you on Instagram.
I prefer to operate behind the camera and behind the scenes. I don't, I think our guys, Dude Perfect produces enough great content that they don't need me producing my own. So I leave it to the professionals when it comes to content creation.
Was there a tipping point when you realized though that this could be a real profit generating initiative?
Really very early on. It was something that because I actually started the NBA in our ticket sales and ticket analytics group. And after 2 years of that, I said, I want to work on media. Like this is digital media and social media and streaming content is going to be the future of our business. And so after that, everything I did was how do I get closer to operating and being involved with our media business? Because I just could see among what was then my generation and is now, Gen Z, that the ways of consumption were changing dramatically. And that was true in news, and that was true in sports and cooking and fitness and every category. And I wanted, I thought the NBA was, again, fortunate and innovative in how they foresaw that in advance. But I wanted to be a part of that, and I wanted to help on that journey.
Have you, what is your favorite NBA meme moment? Over the past few years? There's a lot of good ones out there.
Oh, now you're putting me on the spot. I don't know. What is your favorite?
I love.
And I'll respond.
I literally cannot remember the basketball player's name.
Yeah.
But they got this guy to dress up as Gru, like in the
Oh,
Minions.
that's Nikola Jokic.
Yeah.
Really that was
funny.
pretty good. Yeah.
Really, and it was a good brand tie-in that didn't feel too annoying.
Yeah.
You know,
that was really good.
was...
And it's very on brand for Jokic.
Exactly.
Which was really good. So, yeah. At the NBA, we were certainly consumers, but we were not producers of meme-worthy content. And
that makes sense.
Yeah.
You were just waiting for the organic memes.
We were curious, yeah.
What's your NBA team?
I grew up in New York.
Okay.
So I am a Knicks fan, which as I'm adjusting to Texas and, we're working through it. There's a lot of Mavericks. There's a lot of Dallas Mavericks fans and Dallas Cowboys fans and Dallas teams, which I'm very supportive of.
Well, let me tell you, my husband wore this was to a baseball game, so I suspect it's worse in other places, but he wore an Astros hat to a Yankees game.
Yeah, that's not great.
And he almost got beat up.
Yeah.
That's
a tough
Don't
rivalry.
do that. When you move to Dallas, just blend in.
Yeah, thankfully there's not as many other than Giants Cowboys direct relationships. But wouldn't wear any Giants gear to a Cowboys game.
No, he's brave.
Yeah.
Brave and stupid. You talked a little bit about the world tour that you're organizing, and we're seeing a lot of media entities sort of lean on these live experiences. Tell me about the opportunity there. How big do you see this going?
Yeah, so we've done a number of tours over the last several years. We've actually sold out more than 50 NBA arenas over the course of our tours. It is a big, really more than anything, big way for us to connect.
Mm-hmm.
Like one of the things I think we see is that we have 60 million subscribers and every video gets tens of millions of views.
Yeah.
But it's, other than comments, it can be a little bit, we want to make sure that we're engaging directly with our audience. And the tour and 10, 15,000 screaming fans is a great way to do that.
Is it mostly kids?
It's families. I would say family is our audience. So anywhere, in the kids and teens, families is the typical attendee.
Yeah.
But it's broader than that. And so, I think that's one way. We're going to be in 25 cities next summer. We're really excited for that. But I think live experiences can be a lot more. We want to ensure that they're more permanent and more accessible ways and always-on ways for our fans to engage with our brand. And so we're early in the process, but that's definitely an area that we're exploring.
You're also in the process of building a campus. Is it fair to call it a campus? What is it? That was announced 2 years ago, and I haven't read it too many updates, so I don't know.
There's continued work going on to assess how we want to kind of, again, reach our fans and what that looks like, whether that ends up being a theme park, whether that ends up being a series of elements is a little bit to be determined.
Got it. So it's still kind of...
It's still, I would say, it's on the drawing board.
When you bring in new people to appear in Dude Perfect content, do you hope to build, I suppose, like franchises around them, like events around them? Or do you think it'll be really centered on these 5 guys, ancillary content on YouTube or whatever, but like they are so...
I think it'll depend. I think it'll depend a lot on the talent that we bring in and the other talent that we work with. Like I think authenticity is really key to our brand and really key to the content we make and who the guys are. And so if we want to work with someone who has great ideas on ways to engage a fan base, like we want to support that and we want to work with them on the right ways to do that. If they're, for whatever reason, that's not a fit for what that person is, but otherwise they fit Dude Perfect great, like we'll work with them in that manner. So we're, I think, very open to different relationships. And it's one of the nice things about, while we have immense reach and scope, we're pretty small and nimble and can work in a very collaborative and customizable manner with brand partners or talent or celebrities and athletes. And so, we want to have all those conversations. And that's, between me and the team I'm building out, I think the real opportunity to have a lot of those conversations and figure out what the right way is to work with anyone in the ecosystem.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. The first time I heard about Dude Perfect, forgive me, it was not that long ago, but last year we did an episode of this podcast about YouTube Sunday Ticket.
Yeah.
And Dude Perfect was
in their content strategy. I
Okay.
remember they kind of made a big deal about bringing it up. I saw something to do with them and Donna Kelsey. Tell me about how you think about, I suppose, featuring them in other franchises.
Yeah, so 3 seasons ago, we had an alternate telecast on Amazon for Thursday Night Football. And that, I think, was one of the first big content franchises that kind of lived off platform. And I think it was it was a great experience for Amazon, for us, for the brand. And I think that, those are the types of things that we're really excited to do more of. And I've had a lot of conversations already in my first few weeks about different platforms, different properties and sports and, different opportunities to engage in different ways. Ultimately, again, I think it comes back to what does Dude Perfect mean to our audience and what do they want and how do they get it from us? When we do something like that, we don't want to, do, no offense to anything else that anyone's doing, what's already been done. Okay. We like to do things new and different and in a very, in a way that's very specific to our brand. And so the look and feel of anything that we do is going to, when you come to it, you're going to know that's a Dude Perfect production.
So that's something I am curious about. When I think about the creator landscape now, there are some creators, I think Dude Perfect is one of them, that almost have license to do whatever they want. So it's like, if Dude Perfect really wanted Kamala Harris on their show, it could absolutely happen. I believe this. But how do you decide what's brand appropriate and what's not, or how far you want to push it?
Yeah, we are very focused on being trusted entertainment. I can't tell you the number of parents I've talked to since I started who said the reason we love Dude Perfect is because we know that if our child is watching or our teenager is watching one of your videos, I can trust everything in it. And I think it really fits our mission, which is how can we be the most trusted brand in family entertainment? And we take that incredibly seriously. That extends to, we don't have alcohol advertising. We're probably the only media company
that would be crazy.
We're probably the only media company that hasn't had sports betting advertising over the last 10 years. Those are not worth it. And so I think there is a whole list of things that we'd say those make sense for someone else, but not for us. But the things that we want to do, we're going to be very focused on how does it fit our brand, and we don't want to violate the trust of those parents because that's 15 years of hard work to build that trust, and that's not something that we take lightly.
How do you think about going into gaming? It's an area you mentioned a couple times, but what does a Dude Perfect game look like?
So I think it starts with our audience. So we're doing a lot of work now to understand what is our audience like? What are our fans like? My general sense is 8 to 15-year-old boys like video games. I think it's safe to say.
That feels right.
And so
how much money did you spend? How many McKinsey consultants did you hire to figure that one out?
We have just we're going to be really experimental. So we've just started. We have a channel, Dude Perfect Gaming, that's a secondary channel for us, and we've just started posting our guys playing games and different games. So we have some NCAA football and some other games that we're playing, and just seeing what resonates with our audience. I think it's a huge area that our fans are just going to crave content from us, and so it's an area we're really focused on. We've heard from a lot of our existing brand partners that like, hey, if you guys ever do something in gaming, we'd love to be a part of it, because it's just such a natural and authentic fit for a family-friendly, youth-focused content area, and gaming is just a huge category. So I can envision us playing all of the sports games for sure. Shout out to my friends at NBA 2K, but numerous other games as well that I think are very much in line with who our audience is.
Got it. That makes sense. In terms of growing your brand or launching other channels like the gaming channel, the ROI, I know I've heard from just spending on social media or whatever is so much lower than it was, even like 5 years ago. How do you overcome those challenges in terms of growing an audience? You're obviously starting off from a really big brand, but
I think one of the advantages we have, and been very intentional is we're going to take a very long-term focus.
Mm-hmm.
We're well capitalized. We're
Yeah.
profitable to quite profitable. We have a really big core business,
Mm-hmm.
and we can use that to invest our time and our resources into some experimental areas and some new areas and understand what our audience wants and what works. And we don't have to have an ROI in the first 3 months of a new
Yeah.
initiative for it to make sense. And I've worked with a lot of creators over time. Like, we're very fortunate in that respect. Like, that's
Yeah.
not common in, what's called the creator economy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of creators who need to, ensure that every initiative is paying back itself. I am fortunate that I get to take a step back and say, all right, over the next 3, 5, 10 years, how do we build this into a really, big and meaningful and sustainable media company?
Yeah.
But that doesn't need to be true in month 1 or month 2 of any given initiative. And I think that gives our talent a ton of freedom to try things. And it gives our company a lot of freedom to go experiment and see what works. And we've gotten a lot of great feedback from our audience of like, hey, we love this, let's see more. Or, ooh, I don't really know about that. And
What's
and we
something
listen
that
to
didn't hit?
Luckily, in my first 3 weeks, we haven't had too much yet. But
You can blame your predecessors.
Yeah, that's true. But even within our gaming, we look at our gaming channel. We look at, all right, which talent do people want?
Yeah.
Do they like, Garrett and Sparky playing or Tyler and Sparky playing together? And which is performing better? Which games are performing better? And we're paying very close attention to that data as we continue to build a content plan.
I am curious about this. We're kind of obsessed with Mr. Beast on this podcast because his whole operation is insane. And he's somebody who's obsessed with the algorithm.
Yeah.
With tweaking the algorithm, cutting videos in a very particular way to get people to watch addictive content. How much reverse engineering happens at Dude Perfect, if that makes sense?
Yeah. I think there's a good amount. And I think we want to be immersing ourselves in the data. And that's the background I come from. So
Yeah.
I think that's something I'm going to spend a lot of time doing. And our company is going to spend a lot of time doing. I think there are points, and I don't know what happens at Mr. Beast, so I can't speak to there specifically, but I think there are points in general that can reach overkill. And
Yeah.
I was spending a lot of time with my friends at YouTube over the last couple of weeks. And really, the algorithm is just a reflection of what do people want to watch.
Yeah.
Ultimately, like, where are they watching it? What do they like? And if they watch more, they get more. And so I say to the team, like, our job is to create content people want to watch. And yes, there are tweaks around the edges, and we should be very familiar with what's working and what isn't,
Yeah.
and the interplay of shorts and long form and all of those things. But at the end of the day, good content, I firmly believe good content gets rewarded with views, and that if you're constantly chasing the algorithm, you're always going to be a day late and a step behind.
That's definitely true. When do you think the dudes decided they needed a CEO?
They're 5 really close friends, and that's how they started, and that's been true forever. And I think about the fact that if I started a company with my 5 really close friends, we'd argue about a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I was going to say nightmare.
And it's all very positive and very philosophically aligned.
Yeah.
But I think they, to their credit, realized one person making a decision is more efficient than 5 people making a decision. And so from day one of the interviews and me being on board, they've said, great, now you're the tiebreaker, you're the one who makes the calls, like, welcome aboard, we're the mantle. And so, it's really exciting for me, and I think it's really relieving for them that they get to spend their time on what they do best, which is creative and funny and engaging and sometimes a little bit crazy. And
Well, this was great. Thank you so much for coming on our show.
thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Want to hear more? Looks like you're going to have to subscribe to Most Innovative Companies.